I'd like to give all praise and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Barakatah. I'd like to give honor to the elders of GMS and the brothers and sisters that are out there pushing this word in sincerity and truth. What I'd like to talk to you today about is death and destruction, and explain to you a little bit of what's going on in the world today and correlate the scriptures with it, to show proof that the Most High Word does not go out void and in vain. And I'm going to start with Matthew 24, starting at verse 4. It's and the word says, "And the Messiah answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." And that's what's going on now. We're hearing wars and rumors of wars, and many people that I've talked to in the past say, well, that's something that's been going on for a long time. Yeah, you're right. It has been going on for a long time. But all these things are happening now at one time, and we'll see that later on in the scripture. And it says, "See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nations." And when it talks about nations, it's talking about a group of people. It's talking about ethnicity of race. It's talking about blacks against whites. You got the North Korea against, they the same group of people, but they're fighting against each other. And I'm gonna show that in the interliner here for verse 7. That like phone is locked. So like, bear with me a second here. In verse 7, it talks about nations. We're going to look up nations. And what the outline of the biblical use says that a multitude, whether of men or of beasts associated or living together, a company, a troop, swarm, two, a multitude of individuals of the same nature or genuine. That's speaking of you have your blacks, your whites, your Hispanics, human families, and then it says a tribe. Verse 3 says a tribe, nation, people, group. So that's where, it breaks those two and 3 really breaks it down, where it talks about your race. And, now we're having a lot of race wars going on about different races. You have cops killing blacks, and you have, just a whole bunch of things going on. People calling people out of the characters and stuff like that. So that's what the Messiah meant by nations against nations. And kingdoms against kingdoms is talking about areas, territory, dominions. That's what kingdoms against kingdoms is talking about. And as you look here, the outline of biblical usage say royal power is talking about, in charge, kingships. That's talking about, rulership, area, dominion. That's talking about the area, not to be confused with an actual kingdom, but rather the right to authority to rule over a kingdom. That's like the United States versus North Korea, your South Korea versus North Korea, China versus United States, Russia versus United States, Israel versus Russia. It's talking about your kingdoms, your area, your land. And these things are happening as well, and there shall be famine. And what's going on, famine has been around for many years, but all these things are happening at one time. You got famine in Haiti, you got famine in Africa, you got famine in Venezuela, Brazil, you got famine in Puerto Rico because of the man-made storms that just went through there. You have famine that's in Houston, the man-made storm there, and people are literally dying, and people are hungry, and putting out videos that the Red Cross and FEMA and all these government agencies are not feeding them. And then out of Florida, we don't even know what's happened in Florida, or what's going on with the destruction or anything in Florida. You know, the media is not putting it out because the powers that be in charge is keeping that information hidden from people. And it says in pestilence, and with pestilence, it's talking about diseases, and you have different diseases that are happening for the lack of sanitary. Being able to sanitize the place or area that you're staying in, bacteria from the water that's been sitting for 2 or 3 weeks, you get mold and different things that build up, and other bacteria that's already in the water brings on these different diseases, and people will come down with it. And see, it said pestilent, a pestilent fellow. Pest, plague, and plague is another word for disease. And as you read down in the Strong's definition, it says uncertain affirmity, a plague, literally the disease, or figuratively a pest. So it's talking about a disease, you know, that people are going to contract from this. And you know, on the news in Houston, they were worried about all of the bodies and different things, and in the water, and the disease, as they say, that will come from the water. And it said, and it's earthquakes. And you know, we have earthquakes in many different places. Who would thought we had an earthquake in Madison, Mississippi? You know, who would thought, you know, you having earthquakes in places that have never had earthquakes before, and they're happening. It says, but at the end of verse 7, it's in diverse places, meaning in many different places. It said, all these are the beginning of sorrows. And the Most High saying, you know, hey, it's going to be a lot of sorrows behind this. When this stuff begin to happen, it's going to be a lot of sorrows. And I'm going to go over to Ezra's chapter 16, starting at verse 18. And the angel explaining to Ezra from the vision that he saw the beginning of sorrows. It says, verse 18, it says, the beginning of sorrows and great mourning. The angel telling him it's going to be a lot of mourning. It's a lot of mourning going on in Houston, Florida, Puerto Rico. The people there are really hurting because they can't get the supplies. They can't get nothing that they really need to try to maintain a healthy life. The beginning of famine and great death, and what's happening there. People not eating. I mean, there's videos that show that the food, the clothing, and the stuff that people have gathered from all over the world is just sitting there, and it's not getting to them. And it says, in the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. Meaning, you're talking about, to say power is talking about the leaders or whoever's in power over that. They're going to fear this because they know that that's a sign that the return of the Messiah is near. And it says, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? And that's what Ezra, what I'm going to do? Because he saw a vision, a vision of what's going to happen. And this is what the angel told him. Behold, famine and great plague. Hey, it's going to be famine and diseases. Tribulation and anguish. It's going to be trouble. There's going to be, destruction. It's going to be, death. It's going to be a lot of anguish. There's a lot of people going to be going through some hurt. Are sent as scourge for amendment. What the Most High is doing, he's sending this to his people for amendment, for them to change their ways and come back to his laws, statutes, and commandments. When you're going through something, you always want to tend to call on the Most High. But as soon as everything get back to normal, you go back to your ways. But hey, he wants you to come to him and to stick with him. You're going to stick with his ways. You're going to follow his commandments. You're going to follow his laws. And he said he's going to start at his house first. Getting his people correct for the things that they have done over the past, and not keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments. Verse 20 said, But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness. Hey, after all this stuff that they going through, losing your house, losing your car, losing your job, no food, no clothes, no way to get into these things. And people still are going to go get wicked. They're not going to turn from it. What most people do, they turn to rioting and stealing, instead of praying and calling on the Most High, and what did he say? It's going to be a test. It's going to be a test on the whole world, Hey, we all got to go through this. He said he's going to test the whole world. So it's not something that's just going to happen to these people and then it's gone. It's going to be great anguish and destruction all over the world that's about to come. This is just the beginning. Okay, and it said that in verse 21, it said that they shall think themselves to be, it said, behold, visual shall be so cheap upon the earth, meaning that items are going to be real cheap. Visual mean items, goods. Everything, you go to the dollar store, you can get everything you need, You don't have to go to Walmart, you don't have to go to Kroger's, you don't have to go to whatever grocery store or whatever chain that you need. You can get everything right there at the dollar store, Dollar Tree, and these different places. And so people going to feel safe that, hey, I can run to the dollar store, I can get whatever, I can get my water, I can get my, little canned goods and this and that, and I'm good. Verse 21, that they shall think themselves to be in good case, I'm good if I get these things. And even then shall evil grow upon the earth. Swords is talking about wars, famine. You had famine, at one time all these things started off. And, as people always say, this stuff been going on for years. Yeah, it has. But now it has rolled into where all this calamity is happening at one time. And great confusion. People are confused now because, hey, they don't know what's happening. You go to church, the church preach this love doctrine. Oh, you just pay your tithes and do this and everything's going to be all right. The world's going to get better. But the world is growing in wickedness and wickedness and wickedness and more wickedness each day. And even the Messiah says it's going to be in the time of Noah, worse than the time of Noah. And we know during the time of Noah was so wicked that the Most High destroyed the whole world, for that. And verse 22, it said, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. And that's what's happening. A few people in Houston, Venezuela, Brazil, Puerto Rico. You got a lot of people that are dying because they don't have any food. You think about your people that are sickly, that have to eat to maintain, their body strength, and they can't get food for 3 or 4 days and they die. You think about young kids that die. It says, if perish of famine and the others. So it's talking about the other things, pestilence as well, in disasters that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. And that sword is talking about missiles. It's talking about war. When the wars begin to kick off, because what did he say? There will be wars and rumors of wars. So, hey, it is going to be a war. And when that war begins to happen, a lot of people going to perish from that because they're going to shoot off these bombs and they're going to hit. So if they escape that hunger and escape from pestilence and the disasters, they may die by the sword. All because they refuse to turn back to the laws and statutes of the Most High. And, verse 23, it said, and the dead shall be cast out as dung. And, that's, if, and what they're talking about is, if a dog poop in the house, what you do, you scoop it up and you cast it out, Dong is talking about poop, doo-doo, crap, And so what he's saying is, you don't care about that dong or that doo-doo, so they just gonna throw them dead bodies anywhere. Put them in cement coffins and bury them in the field somewhere. They don't care about that. It said there should be no man to comfort them. So, people are turning to FEMA, turning to Trump, turning to government agent, Red Cross, and these people don't care about them. They turn them away, won't feed them, won't do anything to help them. So, what do they have? Who can they turn to? Scripture telling you that they're going to turn to these people and they're not going to help them. It says, for the earth shall be wasted and the city shall be cast down. And that's what's happening with a lot of cities. Now, a lot of cities have been destroyed. Your cities in Puerto Rico, your cities in Venezuela. The people have destroyed the cities from rioting because they're hungry. They need aid. They need help. Houston. Houston was destroyed by water. And you got people that began to loot, that went in and destroyed people's houses and different things. So now all of that stuff is happening. Is coming to life. And the Most High said that, and when he's talking here, he's talking to Yasharahla. Yasharahla is Israel, his people. And in Hosea 4:6, he says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. When people was out there trying to teach them, the brothers on the street was out there trying to break it down to them and tell them, hey, you need to turn from your wicked ways. You need to turn back to the Most High. You need to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. You need to put that pork down. You need to put that, give the Most High 24 hours of service. For worship, he says, set thy Sabbath day, set it apart, keep it holy, meaning, hey, for this day, for the Sabbath day, it's set apart, it's a holy day, you give me that worship. 6 days, I give you to do what you want to do, but that 7th day is my day. That's what the Most High said. This is the day you give me for rest and for your convocation to me, and that way that you don't do your will on that day or do your desires on that day. You come to me and you give me worship on that day. And Most High, people out there eating all these abominable things, the catfish, the shrimp, the lobster, not keeping the holy days. You got your Passover. They want to keep these wicked holidays like Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving and Halloween, and just not giving him worship. So all these things are about to come down on these people for their wicked ways. And and it says, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. The Most High saying, you're not going to minister to me. You're not going to minister to my people. Seeing thou hast forgotten the laws of thy power, I will also forget thy children. And that's why you have a lot of children that are dying. Hey, you out there doing your things, and not giving him that 24 hours of service, and then all of a sudden, boom, bam, you in a car accident, your child die. And hey, it is what it is. The Most High saying here, because you refuse and reject him, he gonna refuse you and your children. So when you're going through these calamities and these different things that are happening, the Most High saying, he gonna turn his back. He gonna laugh and he gonna mock at you. He gonna mock you. He gonna laugh at you when you call upon him. Because most people don't even know his real name. They think his name is God, but he has a name. And Yasharahla need to wake up and come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments, because the Most High is showing that his word will stand and that his word is not going to return to him void. With that said, I want to say shalom.